I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your Bar Rescue AfterShow here on AfterBuzz TV. If this is your first time tuning into AfterBuzz TV, welcome. We're thrilled to have you. We're the ESPN of TV talk, where some of the world's biggest superfans and TV personalities come here to break down everything that's airing on TV. Of course, as I mentioned, we're covering Paramount Network's flagship show, Bar Rescue, hosted by the brilliant Jon Taffer. And I'm joined by a brilliant host myself.
Oh.
I'm sitting here next to the CCO and founder of AfterBuzz TV, my good friend and mentor, Keven Undergaro.
Great to be back. Great to have Bar Rescue back.
Great to have Bar Rescue back. Guys, Keven is a Bar Rescue insider, if ever there was one.
Yes.
He very recently was on the set of a soon-to-come Bar Rescue. We can't say too much about it, but Keven, you know Jon pretty well.
I know he's one of my best friends. I'm very proud to say that. And got to know him from doing the after show so many years ago. And yeah, this is my 5th Bar Rescue.
I love it. I can't wait. That's going to be airing later in the season, but we will go a little bit behind the scenes with Keven. That's going to be later in the show, one of our special segments. But of course, most of our show will be breaking down this episode. First episode of 2020. This is season 7, episode 10. And we're talking about originally Sactown in Sacramento, converted to Brandon Manor during the renovation. We'll be going over all of that. I should introduce myself quickly. I just realized I'm here yammering without saying hello. Guys, my name is Jeff Graham. I'm thrilled to be here. I cover a lot of shows here, a lot of reality.
You kind of become the Bachelor man.
Bachelor Jeff is what they've started calling me, which is pretty fun. I used to roll my eyes at The Bachelor, Keven.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I couldn't be deeper in that show. I don't know about the Venn diagram of Bachelor fans who are also watching Bar Rescue, but you never know.
You know, it's such a mainstream show that almost everyone is watching Bachelor. I feel like, this is mostly dudes are watching Bar Rescue, mostly, but I think that a lot of them are sucked in with girlfriends maybe to watch Bachelor.
Yeah.
I think it's a Bachelor. It's an investment.
It is an investment.
You know, you're talking
at least 2 hours a week.
At least.
Yeah.
Right? Because
we had one 5-hour week this week of just programming.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lot to ask, but it's good TV. Not as good as Bar Rescue, though, which we're going to talk about today.
No, not even close.
Keven, I want to hear your overall thoughts on tonight's episode. First week out.
Okay, I hate saying anything bad about the best, reality show on television. But I just thought it was a little soft.
Soft's a good word.
I think T-Pain was great. By the way, you could just tell, great guy. So I thought that was great. And, and then, I love Tiffany. So she's fantastic. I think she's slowly moving into the holy trinity of our food experts. We have our holy trinity of drink experts in Mia, Lisa Marie, and Phil Wills. But I think she and Vic Vegas, they're right over there for in that trinity.
Put Keven in there too, maybe.
Yeah, that might be the trinity. That might be. That might be it. But it was hard because the bones of the bar were decent.
Right.
I mean, it just from the outside and the inside, it was like, you know what, pretty. I don't know, pretty nice, decent looking place.
Not only were the bones of the bar decent, but the staff was decent too. They were decent people without that little edge of insanity that sometimes makes these personalities really pop.
Yeah.
We got some interesting back and forth with Jon and Chris that we're going to talk about, but for the most part, this was kind of an earnest, hardworking group of people in a decent bar that needed Jon's help.
They just in lack of leadership.
Yeah, lack of leadership was the problem, which we'll be talking about today.
And lack of education.
Lack of education, and I'm sorry, I said Chris, but it's actually Richie. Sorry, Chris is working in the kitchen. Richie is our retired cop.
Are you sure? No, I think you're right. I think it's Chris.
It is Chris?
Yeah.
Why do I have Richie written down here?
I don't know. Let me check.
That's why we watch this show minutes before we go on air, and that's part of the fun. Is we're a live production facility. In case you guys didn't know, I'm going to quickly say we do go live with all of our after shows. So I know we have a lot of people listening on the podcast, but I want to let you guys know that if you want to tune into our after show Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can actually join a live chat, join a global community of fans who are just as passionate about TV as we are, and we'd love for you to join.
It's Chris Eaton.
Chris Eaton. Why do I have Richie written down?
Jeff, just too much going on.
It's funny. I said Chris at the very top, and then I doubted myself.
But yeah, please, comments, we appreciate them, especially over on iTunes. We don't get a lot of love over there, and we used to.
Yeah, so we will read your reviews on air if you give us 5 stars. And thanks for being fans, and thanks for helping us continue to be the ESPN of TV talk. He's a retired cop, Chris,
Yes.
and this is his passion project.
Sports is his passion. Let's get it straight.
Sport, yeah, probably it's kryptonite as well. And I think I actually want to start. We're going to go a little out of order today because that was a huge kind of runner through the episode.
Well, let's say that what I thought was a good thing is I think you know, they broke the structure a little bit today.
They did.
You know, we saw a recon that was more of a stress test, and then
Definitely.
we saw a stress test that was more of a recon.
A little bit.
Because I've never seen, you know, a celebrity enter into the
Stress test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't recall. So I think that was new, and I think I liked hearing from the EPs of the show and Jon. They want to continue to find new ways to switch things up.
I want to get back to Recon in just a minute, but the huge runner through this episode was the fact that Chris wasn't able to let go of his passion for sports. He was blinded by the fact that he believed he saw what was best for the company, and it was kind of a selfish love of sports. He assumed that everyone had the same amount of passion for this that he did. Do you think he was in the wrong here?
I think sports is universal, and everybody loves sports. And there's plenty of people in Sacramento that may not be, you know, fans beyond the Sacramento Kings, but I think they're still fans of sports. I mean, I think if you're living there, you don't move to a town because it's a sports town.
Right.
You move for a job or you live there for whatever you work, how you grew up, but that doesn't mean you're not a sports fan.
Right.
So I'm sure there's tons of transient fans. And the fact that there's no sports bar in the whole town, you know, I like those odds. But, and Jon did say it, apparently not the right area. Now, I don't know why there'd actually be a tourist part of
Sacramento?
Yeah, that sounds strange to me. It doesn't seem like a tourist city. But I can see where if that's the case, where a sports bar wouldn't fit.
I know what you mean about Sacramento not being a tourist town. I feel like the big joke of, you know, people who live in California is that Sacramento is a giant suburb. That's what people always talk about. I don't know if you caught the movie Lady Bird in 2017,
Yes.
but that's sort of the whole point of the movie is that everyone wants to get out of Sacramento because there's not a huge buzzing culture scene. So if we have any Sacramento fans, I'd love to hear down in the comment maybe what we're missing here.
To me, it's actually beautiful because it's big enough where you're not out of reality, but then it's small enough and not where it doesn't have all the problems of a big city.
Right.
Like the traffic
Great place to grow up.
isn't as bad. The pollution, you know, isn't as bad, and the weather's nice. Yeah, I like it up there.
That downtown area looked cool. It's funny though, Kev, while I was watching this, I think what Chris could have done was sort of used his sports passion to sort of pivot and try to go in a new direction. And I actually thought of you. You're someone who loves television. That's part of the reason you started this network. But you've had to learn to pivot to incorporate the TV passion that we bring to this, but also listen to what's needed to keep the network.
Well, it made sense what Jon said.
Yeah.
It made sense.
Totally. We'll quickly talk about this recon. T-Pain is great.
He's great.
So much fun to have T-Pain on the show.
And a nice guy, genuine nice guy. You can tell. Because even when Jon was going off, he was like, oh, God. Like, he wasn't, you could tell he's not a mean guy because he was horrified by Jon becoming Jon.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch T-Pain react. He's having a good year. He was on The Masked Singer as well. So props to T-Pain.
Yeah.
What was interesting about this is normally we get to know other personalities, but really Danielle and Shay and Ricardo are the only three other staff members we met.
Yeah, that's another thing, too. We were having moments where they were building up the kitchen manager to have tension with his cook, the young girl that was a cook in there, and that didn't pay off.
We didn't hear one word.
Shay seemed a little sassy. They reacted to T-Pain being in there, and then that didn't really pay off.
No.
So, again, I feel like by targeting less toxic people, it's healthier for Jon. And I think, as an audience, you root for them more. But again, like as a viewer, I feel I feel sad because the crazies make the best.
Yeah, I could sort of feel the producer strings a little bit engineering conflict here.
Yeah.
And Jon's tirade, food throwing has become a big part of Jon's new anger.
Yeah.
Which it's good TV, but you kind of feel like if he's if he's dealing with enough bozos, he doesn't necessarily have to throw the food. And I kind of felt bad. These were just random patrons getting food.
I know. And with all the snowflakes out there today, it's like, oh, no, that's a lawsuit.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like millennial.
Personally, I wouldn't love having food thrown on me.
You wouldn't love it, but
I'd roll with punches.
Right, but a millennial will be traumatized for life. That's it. Like, that's 3 decades worth of therapy, and that's a trip to VictimCon, and that's an excuse to never try again because you were traumatized on national TV. No less.
Brutal.
But yeah, it's I think, well, you know what, it's the way the military does it. They break you down to rebuild you. So and he's only got that very short window. He's got 4 days, but 2 of those days he's got to rebuild you because those other 2 days are spent on renovations.
That's what was interesting.
So, a lot of these techniques, that's what they're really about.
Absolutely. And we always talk about how Jon knows exactly how to coach. And what I was interested was in this next scene, the sort of, I'm calling it Jon versus Chris, where Jon is pushing Chris to change his concept, and Chris just won't let go. There are versions of this scene where Jon gets really angry, and that's how he breaks the person. But I think he knew Chris wouldn't necessarily respond to that. He had to sort of out-logic Chris on this one, which was interesting.
I loved it, and Jon did his research. I love when he went into the
stats
pocket and goes, let me just pull this out. And
I know.
The sports radio station in this town, 21 overall in the market. I'm like, bam! Like, yeah, he had all the facts down.
He really did. It was like a debate.
And I see where Jon's coming from, and I can see where Chris would relent because what else does he have to lose?
Right, I know.
He's at the end.
Well, and whether or not Chris is right, he clearly started this because of his love of sports, not because of his love of hospitality. That's the inherent issue here. So unfortunately, we'll talk about it during updates. I don't know what Chris's new outlook is going to be on this because he never wanted to be a bar owner. He wanted to be someone who could live sports every day.
I mean, another example of, all that money, buy an amazing house, have the unbelievable basement.
Totally. Pinball
machines in there and all the memorabilia hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
And every weekend, your friends, all the sports, everyone's coming over to your place.
Yep.
Spend $100, have a bartender. And just be the hero of like your community.
That's all he wants.
Yeah.
That's all
so many of our Bar Rescue people, like that's it, and they save so much money.
They don't realize they don't actually want to run a business.
Yeah.
That's what they don't realize till they're doing it. And they're like, wait, I have to fill out paperwork and
yeah.
So yeah, Chris really wouldn't let go, which I was surprised by.
Also, but here's what's weird. Usually, when you're a collector, like those people are kooky, generally speaking, and they fall into stereotypes. They're usually borderline hoarders, and they do not like being told what to do, and they're deeply connected to all of those possessions, and rarely do they get rid of them. I'll go back to the karaoke bar here in LA. God, I forget the name now.
Echo Park, right?
No. It was actually over right up the street from us. It was right near Warner Brothers. Across the street from us. Dimples.
I used to love Dimples.
Right, me too. So, did you see the Bar Rescue? It was before you were hosting this.
I didn't know the show existed.
And the guy was a hoarder as well of old Hollywood memorabilia, and he had it everywhere. And literally to a point that it was taking up space in the bar and getting in the way of work. And when they pulled it all out, it took up the whole parking lot.
Wow.
And eventually, after the renovation, he ended up putting stuff back in, and the place closed. But usually with the hoarders, and the fact that he was like, okay, he took them down. That just blew me away.
I know it was.
Because by the way, that stuff that was not just crap like hoarders do. A lot of that. He spent money on that stuff.
Oh yeah, it was an interesting mind game for Jon to force him to take it all down. Don't you think he was kind of playing a little bit of a mind game there?
Well, yeah. Well, typical Jon.
Right.
The little Jedi mind trick.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was cool that Jon was like, because that's going to fall on you. Like, I like how Jon, the stuff wasn't just miraculously gone, because think about it. Like, that stuff is so valuable that you wouldn't just be able to, just randomly, you wouldn't want to be responsible, Jeff, or the Bar Rescue crew, to take that stuff down and just throw it in a corner.
Right.
It's like, no, that's on you. That's all expensive stuff, and we're not going to be liable, so it's going to be on you to take the stuff down.
That's a good point.
And then I think when you invest that time to pull it down, you'll be thinking twice about putting it back up.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, because of all the work involved.
That's a good point. We get to meet two dreamy bartenders and our kitchen head here. Of course, it's Tiffany, Derry, and Tommy Palmer. Loved seeing both of them. Interesting, on this first round, Tommy didn't actually pitch a new drink for the stress test. He just had them measure out drinks to see how accurately they were doing behind the bar, because we did learn from Jon earlier, as always, bartender let us know that they are wasting a ton of drinks.
He was like, and remember what he said? Because he's 3 years in as an owner. He didn't know it mattered.
$200,000 a year.
How much they pour. Okay, was that from theft, Jeff, or is that from overpouring?
Well, they don't overpour, is what we learned from.
That's what's weird.
I know.
Right?
Just to remind you guys, when they did the test with Tommy, rather than an overpour, all of them underpoured.
Right.
So it must be, I guess, the bartender's getting drunk and passing drinks out.
Yeah, free drinks. Yeah, you're right, free drinks.
I'm sure free drinks, because I'm sure that's the kind of bar with a lot of regulars.
You do the free drinks, and then you get better tips.
Yep.
You're taking care of your friends. Yeah.
These chicken tenders look great. Tiffany always delivers, right?
Oh.
And do you know what I noticed about Tiffany this episode? I was thinking back, and I was like, it seems like Tiffany never has a bad kitchen. And I'm like, you know what it is? She's such a good leader that no matter who her kitchen is, they always...
She's not antagonistic.
No.
She knows how to handle it.
And she always says, you know what? I know it was a stress test, but my team did great. Yeah. Every week. And it's because she's such a good leader.
Right.
She can take anyone and get their respect like that.
And I hate to do it, but I want to see her with the worst person. Mm-hmm. Because that would...
She'll turn them around like that. Yeah. Because they know she knows her SHIT. And these Caribbean jerk chicken tenders look really good. I liked what they were seasoned
with. As a cop, ignorance will kill you. In business, it will bankrupt you. Mm. Great quote.
Great. I mean, Taffer does have this way of every episode just creating these pull-away quotes. You can tell he's a great producer in that way. And that's not easy to do as someone who's on air. Okay, this stress test, T-Pain comes back with his wife. Quick fun fact, I did some research during the episode. T-Pain has been married to his lady since 2003. The internet says he's 34 years old, which means he got married at 18. He's still with the same lady.
Wow.
Doesn't surprise me.
No, not from what we saw tonight. He just seemed like a real good guy.
Good dude. And very classic Bar Rescue. They have Chris running his own table. Chris cannot handle the job.
Well, I thought, again, I like when Bar Rescue does this, where they don't have to just follow the cookie cutter.
Right.
Like have T-Pain say he hated everything. He actually liked the drinks. He liked the drinks. There was a lot of redeeming things about it. It was just the waitress, he said, was new, or the waiter was new. Mm-hmm. And but the fact that he jumped in and fixed it, it was interesting in a stress test to see, first of all, a celebrity there, but then also to see the owner succeed.
Right.
It's very rare we see success in a stress test, but I felt like he succeeded.
See, the way I saw this was...
Did you see it different?
I saw it as the table was held up by him. I saw it as things were coming out, but the drinks took so long. And the thing I appreciated was Chris actually owned up. That was one thing that Chris did, was even though he was stubborn, he eventually would own up to everything he was being called out for. So during recon at the beginning, when Jon's like, "Would you eat that food?" He's like, "No, I would not, sir." So anytime Chris pushed Jon, anytime Jon pushed Chris would own up. Like at the table with T-Pain, when he apologized on his own behalf and said, "This is my first time doing this in the 20 years, or in the 3 years that I've been running this bar," which I thought was interesting. I admired that. And T-Pain agreed. He said, "If it weren't for that, I would have given you a 75% tip."
Wow.
So T-Pain's a good tipper, just in case you guys didn't know that.
Not a surprise.
But he did say the food was excellent, which is good.
Yeah.
It looked good.
It did look good.
Any other big takeaways with this stress test? Both teams did well. Both Tommy and Tiffany shouted out their teams.
Yeah.
So
not as bad as I want them, Jeff.
I know.
I want a rescue.
I know.
I don't want a recovery. It's not called Bar Rescue Recovery. It's Bar Rescue. It's Bar Rescue, right? It's not AfterBuzz TV Bar Recovery. It's Bar Rescue.
Rescue, I know. And I always like a gimmick. We will destroy 3 of these autographed basketballs for every drink you spill.
Oh,
we will,
my God.
push the stakes up.
Yeah. You didn't see Jon. You're right. I think because the stuff's not crap.
Right.
But if it were crap, That would have been fun.
Or get a decoy. This basketball by Kevin Garnett signed, and then later it was actually
This is your failure.
Yeah.
Deflating.
Okay, I will say round 2 of both the drink and the food I want to talk about. Bone marrow becomes a huge new theme for... Are you not a bone marrow guy? Have you had it?
It just kind of grossed me out.
It's a little gross. I like bone marrow.
The thought of it. I don't know,
know.
what you're talking about. Other than I know you need it as a transplant if you have leukemia. It just makes me... And I know it's one of the most painful procedures.
It is.
Oh.
Risky, too.
Oh, my God.
I will say, if you're based in LA, there's one restaurant in Fairfax called Animal. They specialize. It's just really, really well-prepared meat. They have bone marrow burgers, and it's the best burger I've ever had.
Explain the bone marrow.
It's really, really tasty. It's a little fatty, but it just is very smooth. It almost is like ground beef. And it's just whatever you season with it, because it's such like perfectly succulent fat, that flavor is like really enhanced and magnified. And you can suck it right out of the bone or dig it off.
Oh, God. This doesn't sound good to me, Jeff.
We'll have to go to Animal on Fairfax to get a bone marrow burger.
Or not.
Or not. Kev's not here. Let us know in the comments if you like bone marrow or not. So it was presented well. Bone marrow is not going to be for anyone, but I do think it's smart. I think it's smart to have sort of a gimmicky food item, because if you were there, you might try it, you know? Maybe not you, but then...
No, I don't know, maybe not.
The cocktail they're pitching is a Bloody Mary. I get thematically why, if you're going to push the bar toward this haunted thing with ghost pepper, salt, I get the theming. I don't know who's dying for a Bloody Mary after 1 p.m.
I don't know. Maybe I was thinking maybe it was a morning. Maybe it was a morning bar. So that's why, going back to football in LA starts at 10.
You're right.
But now, we still have all those TVs.
Yeah.
So who knows?
If they keep sports stuff.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, you're right. And a Bloody Mary goes well with the sports brunch.
Yeah.
I like a Bloody Mary in the morning, but... oh, look. Our wonderful producer, Ryan Nilsson, has it pulled up. A house-made Bloody Mary mix. I thought lighting the sage was cool. A haunted Bloody Mary. The other twist was with this bone marrow. They take the leftover bone and they pour rosé down the chute, and you take it like a shot.
Oh, my God. And rosé. It's like not even like a vodka or something,
I was
so
picturing
strong.
A vodka.
Well, something that's so strong it's going to kill whatever poison is, whatever bacteria is in that bone. I'm not saying there is any. It's just... Yeah, not feeling it, Jeff.
Not feeling the bone marrow. I will say, the idea, I would never take a shot poured down a bone marrow leftover. And like you said, I would maybe if it was like a bacon-infused vodka or something, but to pour rosé, to pour wine down the leftover fat.
I would also, I think if you're thinking Sacramento, you're thinking history, you're thinking Western.
Yeah.
Steaks, cattle, that was big. But then I lean into that for branding. Mm-hmm. So if you had that in branding, then I think that would be okay as like a shooter.
Well, this takes us to the renovation. Let's go ahead and talk about all this new theming. With the Haunted Bloody Mary, with the bone, you can tell they're pushing towards some kind of historically haunted component. They mentioned that Mary Brannon, the son of a daughter of a very...
Was it the daughter?
That's what I
think it was
gathered.
just a lady named Mary.
Well, I had gathered that the Brannon family was a powerful California family.
Yes.
And I gathered that Mary was related to the family and died in a flood, but maybe those are two separate things.
Maybe.
Either way, Brannon Manor, haunted theming, I am not sold on this renovation personally. I feel like you mentioned the bar already looked great. I'm not sure they leaned in as much to the haunted theming as they could. We saw one sort of haunted portrait of Abraham Lincoln, or was it Edgar Allan Poe?
I think it was. I thought it was Lincoln. But no, you're right. It was Edgar Allan Poe, and I love that. The eyes.
The eyes were moving around.
To me, that was the coolest element.
I just think if you're going tourist,
it's like talk about an easy renovation for his team.
I know.
They took down a bunch of photos. That was it.
They got some furniture.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like it was a mistake to leave the TVs up. Personally.
Yeah.
I don't think you walk in there and think, because to me, if you're pushing toward a haunted tourist trap, it's got to look like Disney World. I know I'd pitched Cobwebs, which you thought was too gimmicky, but it's a tourist bar. You take families there. The kids are going to love it if there's spiders.
How many tourists are really good? I don't know. This one just confuses me. I think
confuses me too.
Yeah, I think
I like the sign.
I think, yeah, it's fine. You had a better name, though. What was your name?
Brandon? I pitched Brandon and Bone, or Bone and Brandon.
Then at least, yeah, I know I'm going to a steak place. So if I am a tourist, it's not, oh, kids, we're going to look at all these haunted ghosts. It's like, oh, you know, let's go in to get a steak.
And it's the bone marrow, too. So
yeah, and then I think also you can call to the fact that the Sacramento history of cows and Old West and steer, and, that's what they ate on the range. So then I think it's, I feel it, anyway.
I even would have liked more history around the haunted component. Like, I think it'd be cool if at each table, sort of embedded in the table, is like a history of a different haunt in Sacramento.
Yeah, I was thinking like hologram technology.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff, but again, like I just wonder if investing all that, if you're gonna really get like, oh, Mom, Dad, yay, we're going to historic Sacramento. I don't see it. I feel like you're hitting a family or tourists are hitting San Fran. I believe they're hitting LA, maybe San Diego, but I don't think Sacramento.
Well, I am curious. I know nothing about the Bar Rescue update, Kev. And now that we've covered the bar, I'm really eager to get into our news section and hear about this update.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Well, over at the formerly known Sactown, now currently, what is it?
The Brandon Manor.
At Brandon Manor. Reviews are mixed. Bar Rescue updates, they call it more of a negative takeaway. I think it's more mixed.
Interesting.
There's a lot of people who like the bar and like a couple of the bartenders, and like the food. And then there are a lot of people who don't like the bar, but the reason they don't like the bar is because they say the staff is terrible. They say they're just ill-attentive, terrible service. Drinks are okay, food's okay, but that the service is terrible. And that was one of the more consistent notes that came up with the negative reviews. So, and again, that just comes down to ownership.
I know.
It's like, I think when I first started hosting this show, I never realized that, how much. And then now running AfterBuzz and what we've gone through in this last year, I see how much it is the owner and then the personnel, and getting that personnel on board to be positive, to be present, and if not, making the change.
Yeah.
To get the people in who are. Chris
was never going to run a successful bar. He just isn't in it. He's not a bar owner. He doesn't want to own a bar. Like you said, he wants to bring a bunch of people down to his basement and talk sports.
Probably.
Which is valid, but not right for this industry.
No.
It's the hardest industry.
Yeah.
And we work in production.
Right.
I think hospitality is very,
Let's tell all bar owners. You want to know my tip for hiring?
What's that?
Go to Starbucks.
Yeah? Oh, because they work...
The people are usually at a good Starbucks are so vetted to be positive and attentive and then detail-oriented. They may love going into the bar business where they can actually make real money.
You're right.
Real tips, and anyway, but that comes with mindful ownership. That's going to be all over those people help them to either change where they can be more successful, make more money, or move on and get other people. But unfortunately, that's what it seems like. So, and I've heard that a lot of the memorabilia, at least on the way to the bathroom, is back, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that wasn't going to take long.
Yeah, no.
Well, we're going to very quickly give you our Taffer takeaways as we make our way out. Oh, I love that. Ryan is on the keys back there in the booth. Thank you, Ryan. This is the segment where we give you the lesson that we sort of took away from the episode. Personally, I'm going to shout out Tiffany here. I alluded to it earlier, but I think the best managers both challenge but advocate for their team. So I think Tiffany always does a good job of challenging them and pushing them, but if anyone comes up to question how they're doing, she has their back right away. I think that's what a good manager does is, when it's just your team, you can push and challenge them, but you're loyal to them even as their manager. If someone else were to question or call them out, that manager has their back because they're just as much in the trenches with their team as they are their manager, I think.
I like that.
That was my take. I feel like Tiffany always gives off that vibe.
Very good.
Yeah.
Ignorance will kill you, and in business, it'll bankrupt you. That's all you need to know.
Jon Taffer.
It's so true.
Yeah.
We need to move into predictions.
We do have predictions for next week.
Your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
So I think next week is going to be a great episode.
Me too.
We see an older man who falls into the category of what I call a defiant moron. Now, Jeff, we've had some defiant morons here at AfterBuzz, haven't we?
We have.
Chris had defiant moron tendencies. And by the way, Chris was a callback to one of the season 1 of the Canyon Inn. It was an ex-baseball player who owned a bar who was a total defiant moron and not very likable. Chris was more likable. And but this guy next week seems like he is far more the defiant moron. And the qualities of the defiant moron is you're a moron and you adamantly defend your stance as a moron. And then one of the other qualities about being a defiant moron is you need to think everyone else is stupid and you're the smart one.
Yep.
And
you'd never put A and B together that everyone else disagrees with you. So maybe there's a chance.
No, they disagree with you because they're idiots. and when you're that's a moron, and the defiant moron is willing to fall on his sword at all costs to prove he's right. And I will tell you guys, in any business, even if it's a contractor, if it's a defiant moron, run. Run. When you know it's believe me, even my wife and I, like, we've bumped into them at party. I go, Marie, defiant moron, get me away. This is just nothing. I want nothing to do with this person.
Because you know what? All the best CEOs, they know what they want and they have their vision, but they listen. They listen to smart people around them.
The greatest filmmakers. You know, I always say, heard stories of Woody Allen. There'd be a janitor outside, and he'd say, "Hey, can you come in and look at this scene real quick? What do you think? Does this make you laugh? No. All right, cut it. Oh, you like it? All right, keep it." That's genius. Right? Well, that's humility.
Yeah.
Too, you know. So anyway, I think I'm super excited to see that. We've ran out of time, Jeff.
We're out of here.
We can't even talk about what happened to me.
Oh my gosh, Kevin, I didn't even know. You know what though? That's a great tease for next week.
Next week we'll go over I'm going to say this. Maria really nailed it. Jon really nailed it, and I think it will be one of the better ones, if not the best of the season.
We don't know when it's airing.
We do not know when it's airing, but it was really something because it had the loons that you love, but not defiant moron loons.
Oh, I can't wait. You know,
so it was nice people who were loony, but the way they all came around, it's the greatest spirit of Bar Rescue. When you really see people come around and grow and things work. It was something. And, you know, Maria Menounos, my wife, is very critical. And, you know, we're one of the few, if only, celebs who always go back for the reveal because we're such fans.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no way are we going to be down here and not see how all this mess is cleaned up. And she was like, I would totally go to this bar.
Wow.
And when you see the bar and you see the story, you're going to be very surprised. And shout out to Phil Wills, who was the expert. Told me I didn't luck out.
Oh, yeah.
As I got Phil and I got Vic Vegas in the kitchen.
Oh, Kev. Phil and Vic.
Oh, my God. So, and literally, like...
Were you starstruck a little bit?
I've met them before.
Yeah.
And I love them both. I'm always trying to promote them as best I can. But I will tell you that they back it up because the drink and the food that I got from both of them was literally the best drink I've ever had and literally the best type of food I ever had. So, which we'll talk more about when that episode airs.
Oh, I can't wait.
So there you go. So we got it in.
We got it in. And of course, this was your Bar Rescue After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. If y'all are interested, I mentioned it. I'm going to be live on air tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific to talk about a crazy episode of The Bachelor. It's the Women Tell All Kev, so they bring all the women back and SHIT hits the fan. I can't wait.
So the Champagne Gate girl will be back?
She will. And she will clarify her comments. And I'm very excited for it. It was a very challenging night for her.
Jeff, I just say with The Bachelor, they're just more than those men and women are more than, I feel like more the norm now. They used to just be the outsiders that we could all look at, and I think more people are like that out there.
It used to be a funhouse mirror, and slowly it's becoming a mirror of our country.
Yes.
It's sort of how it is.
Great analogy, Jeff.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, my name is Jeff Graham. You can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham. Captain Keven Undergaro, where can they find you?
At Undergaro. And Jeff, at some point we'll be back with another Christmas 24/7 episode.
Yes, we will.
If not next week, this week.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We'll see you next time here on the Bar Rescue After Show.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.